here driving in my 2016 third gen Tacoma here with 203,216 miles on it, and it's running great. It has a orange virus tune, and it's got 275, 70, 17 Falcon Wild Peak AT3Ws on it with a Fox 2.5 internal bypass shocks. It's only 1 inch higher than stock in the front, and the back's stock height. And that's basically pretty much it. It runs good. I'll show you in a second here once I turn on this road. But this thing, people on the Tacoma pages, especially on Facebook, they're like, oh, the third gen's a turd, blah, 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 blah. Like, just non-stop. It's like, dude, just do a tune to it. That's it. That's all it needs is a tune. And these things run real good. So, let me get up here out of the main streets here. It's like 10:30 at night here. And I'll talk about it a little bit till I get up here, and I'm about a mile. But yeah, these things, with just the littlest thing like a tune, they're tuned for economy too hard on the factory. Like from the factory, it's just really set up to try to get the best gas mileage possible, and they lower the shift points, and it searches for gears all the time, and then like gear hunting or whatever they call it, and all that. And it just, I don't know, it's a shitty tune from the factory, really. It got better in the newer ones a little bit, but it's still, with just a tune, it can make such a big difference on this thing. I have the AC on, and it's 60 degrees outside right now, so it's not real hot, but this thing runs about the same in all temperatures, it seems like. So I'll slow down here to like a 20, let's say, of course it's gonna 25. That's 25 to 60 right there, or 65 actually, but it kicks down immediately. As soon as I floored it, it immediately was just like bam, and kicked down into the lower gear. But I really don't see how so many people, see, a lot of people with these things put big tires on them, and then after they do that, they put tons of weight on them with these bed racks and all this stupid shit for overlanding. The half of them probably don't even go overlanding anyway. But they do all this stuff to them, throw on all this weight, and then they're like, man, this thing barely gets out of its own way. It's like, dude, it's a 5,000 pound truck to begin with, pretty much, and then you just put 1,000 pounds extra weight on. Now it's a 6,000 pound truck. Like, I took weight off of this thing. I took my spare out, I took the jack out and shit. I don't have nothing because I have a plug kit and an air pump. I don't need any of that shit. So any extra weight in this thing I took out of it, I don't need it. It's pointless. So I just figured, why have it in here? So I took it out. And so this thing's actually a little lighter than stock, but not really technically, because I do have 32s, and I do have these rims. I do have these rims on here. They're Methods, and they're simulated bead locks. They're Method grid. So I think these wheels and tires are probably a little bit heavier than the stock setup, but then they're 32s. So this has like a 32 point something on it. It's not quite a 33, but it's, I think, a 32.2. So it's not too far off from a 33. And the thing is responsive. Like, you can stomp on it at 80 and it still kicks down like pretty hard. It's almost the same. Like, it's not quite as hard as it is at 25, but it kicks down and it moves. It doesn't just not go anywhere. Like, it'll go 80 to 100 and not a whole lot of time for what it is. I mean, it's not a race car. I have fast cars and like cars with 500 wheel horsepower that weigh 2,600 pounds. I know this thing ain't a fast car. I never said it was, but to people that just constantly criticize this motor and the third gen, oh, it's a piece of shit, it's so slow, blah, blah, blah. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I had a second gen, and yeah, my second gen ran probably as good as this after I did some stuff to it, but it was close. But that was also a lighter truck. It didn't have as much tech in it, and it was a access cab, so it was lighter there. And just like all the safety shit and everything else in these newer ones, that truck was definitely a solid, probably 350 pounds lighter than this truck, maybe more. I don't even know. It could have been 500 pounds lighter than this truck. I never weighed it. I don't know. But it definitely ran good. I got it down to like low 7 seconds, 0 to 60 times, and that's pretty quick. And this thing won't do a faster 0 to 60 time really than that, but from a 25 roll or a 50 roll, this truck will pull away from the second gen. I know it will. I've checked my times, and I like logged some times with this and with that when I had that, because I had them both at the same time for a little while. And this truck from a roll is faster, but that truck from a dead stop was a little bit quicker off the line because it had a little bit better low end torque with that motor. The 4.0s had better low end torque. This motor's more high strung. Like it'll rev here. I'll show you. I'll shift it because this thing has the revlimiter raised with the tune. This thing revs to like 7,000 RPMs, I think it is. I'll just wind first out and show you. See that? It's like 7,000 at rev limiter that I let off. But yeah, this thing revs to 7. I think the 4.0 only revved to like 6 maybe, I think. It wasn't much higher than that. I forget. It's been 3 years since I had that truck. But for people to just discount this truck or like just say it's not worth getting, you know, and stuff like that just because of this motor that's in this thing and oh, the third gen, this and that. This is a pretty good motor. I mean, it's pretty high tech. I'm averaging like 18.2 miles per gallon. I just checked my last fuel mileage I got, and it was 18.2 miles per gallon. And that's pretty good for having 32s on it. And I'm doing the math straight off the odometer, and it's actually a couple miles per hour off. So I'm probably actually getting closer to 20 miles a gallon because I'm not calculating for the tire size versus stock. I don't know exactly what size they were stock anymore, but I think, I don't know. I like the 4.0. Like if they're both not from the factory, I mean, if they're both from the factory, not tuned, the 4.0 is better to drive, I would say, because it doesn't really hunt for gears, and like it is set up nice. I'm not gonna lie and say it's not, because it is. And this from the factory is set up like shit, kind of. It hunts for gears when they're not tuned, and it just, I don't know. You can see there, this thing, I've been driving it this whole time with the camera on. This thing's sitting at low RPMs, and it's in, right now, it's probably in, what, 4th gear going 25, 30 miles an hour. So, like, this thing, I don't know, with the tune on it, it feels a lot more like the 4.0. Besides, when you stomp it, it's got a lot better mid to top end power than the 4.0. The 4.0 is better low to mid. It's the best way to explain it. For me to explain it, that's the best way I can think of. The 4.0 is more like a grunny motor. It almost reminds you of a small V8. It's like, hits hard, and then it kind of just plateaus off. This thing, it don't start hitting until the mid, and then it pulls hard to the top. Like, it's a high-strung motor, which is kind of weird for a truck, but it still has torque, and it still pulls fine. I don't know. I pulled a lot of stuff with it, like dollies and all kinds of stuff with 4,000 some pound Jeeps behind it, and I never had a single problem with it pulling it up the highway 70, 75 mile an hour. I pulled cars from other states on car dollies with this thing and everything, and never had a problem at all. But yeah, this, I don't know, can't really say really any complaints about this truck that I can think of off the top of my head. The main thing is just get a tune on it, and it sounds like a lot of money on $500 to $700 or whatever. It's worth it because it's a $40,000 truck. Well, this was in 16, so the newer ones are even more. But to not spend $700 to make it how it should have been from the factory, it's just not worth it. You got to just spend the money. It's so worth the money to spend it. That's the best money you're going to put into this thing for under $1,000 bucks, and it helps it get better gas mileage. It runs how it should, and it's just worth it. Like, yeah, that trip I stomped it a lot, so I got 16.7 miles per gallon, but I averaged the gas. That was only a 26-mile trip, and I floored it probably 5 times before I made the video. I was on the highway doing like 80 something, but this truck is a great truck, and it's an improved second gen, basically, in my opinion. It's got better tech, nicer interior. It's just nicer to be in, really. I mean, I literally have nothing against the second gen. I would own another second gen, like, in a heartbeat. I'd own another one if I could find a good deal on one, and I'd have this, but I like them both. I'd like to find a cheaper second gen and put a long travel kit on it and make it a pre-runner, but I can't really justify doing that to this, even with the miles yet, because it's just still too nice of a truck, and it's my daily, so probably just gonna keep this pretty much how she sits. But yeah, it's pretty much the video I made on this. I just wanted to go over it and just try to clarify that the 3.5 in this thing is fine, and it actually makes good power, and with a tune, it's pretty impressive, actually, I think, for a truck. But that's pretty much it for this video, I guess.